Welcome back everyone to AHSAA TV Weekly. It's time now for everyone's favorite segment, David Holtzford's Highlights. And before we get to the highlights, let me remind everyone that if you'd like to see your school on a future episode of our show, send your highlights to David at the email address on your screen. Now let's get right into all the action. With Hatton moving to Class 4A this season, same as Deshler High School, what had been a very good volleyball rivalry became even better this year. We open this week's Holtzford Highlight segment with Deshler, coached by Hall of Famer Jana Killen, hosting Hatton. The Tigers, featuring two of the state's top blockers according to Max Prep statistical leaders, Kendall Schlarp and Jalen Davis, ranked 1 and 2 in the state after last week's competition with 172 and 133 blocks respectively. The Tigers won this match over Hatton 3-0 and also downed Class 1A Power Addison 2-0, with both players living up to their rankings. Schlarp had 11 blocks and Davis had 10 blocks in this match versus Hatton, and teammate Julia Petty had 15 kills and 4 aces as Killen's Tigers improved to 33-7 on the season. We move from the volleyball court to Deshler's football stadium for our next highlight. We pick up the action with the Tigers hosting Colbert County. Deshler jumped out to a quick 13-0 lead, but saw that lead evaporate as Colbert County came back to take a 14-13 lead. Deshler's Price Thornton steadied the ship and led his team to victory, however, passing for 219 yards and 3 touchdowns, with touchdown strikes to Garrett Reed and Camden Fuller. Running back Quintavious Harden was the hero, though, scoring on a 2-yard touchdown run with 1 minute and 16 seconds left to give the Tigers of Coach Patrick Malone a 28-21 victory. Next up is the Fort Payne High School Wildcats taking on the Mortimer Jordan Blue Devils on Friday night in Fort Payne, Alabama. The defense led the way for Fort Payne, holding Mortimer Jordan scoreless most of the game. Quarterback Dax Varnador completed 21 of 25 passes for 231 yards and a touchdown to Carter Blaylock. Varnador also added 41 yards on the ground on 7 carries. Brandon Oliver has 7 catches for 96 yards, while Riker Shankles had 3 catches for 29 yards. Connor Hughes added a field goal in the game, as well as proving to be a weapon for the Wildcats just 2 weeks after kicking multiple 50-yard field goals in a game against Southside. The game ended in a Fort Payne victory over the Blue Devils 16-6. Talladega High School, coached by Damian Dorsey, came into last week's football clash with Asheville on a disappointing 26-game losing streak. But on last Friday's rainy homecoming night, the Tigers ended that skid. Quarterback Zay Lyles accumulated 218 all-purpose yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, scoring on a 48-yard run and a 1-yard run in the fourth quarter. Lyles also fired a 60-yard touchdown pass to sophomore Malik Smith in the second quarter. Asheville was able to tie the game 16-16 in the third quarter, but Talladega's Lyles' strong final quarter effort led Talladega to a 35-28 victory and its first win of the season. Class 6A Parker, coached by former Grambling star running back Frank Warren, hosted Class 7A powerhouse Hoover last week and came away with a 14-10 win. Parker's first win over the Bucks since 1991. It was the Thundering Herds defense that matched the Bucks in the trenches to seal the victory. That defense only allowed a field goal as the only offensive points for the Bucks in the game. Parker took the lead a short time later, however, when Timothy Merritt found Kentrell Davis for a 35-yard touchdown reception to take a 7-3 lead. Hoover's defense stepped up when Cameron Torbor forced a fumble and Justin Hartley picked it up and raced 19 yards for a touchdown, giving the Bucks a 10-7 lead. Parker's defense was just too tough, and the Herds' offense would rise one more time. Merritt scored on a 5-yard quarterback keeper as Parker held on for a 14-10 win. Merritt finished with 80 yards passing and 47 yards rushing. Running back Naeem Offord contributed 68 yards on 10 carries as Parker won for the 4th time in 11 meetings since first playing in 1986. Heading down to Central Alabama, we look in on Class 7A Opelika taking on Class 6A Pike Road. The Bulldogs defense also shined, first forcing Pike Road to muff a punt to set up a 1-yard touchdown run by Javari Johnson for a 7-0 Opelika lead. The Bulldogs of first-year head coach Brian Moore stretched the lead to 21-0 on a Calvin Hughley 4-yard touchdown run and Tyrese Pitt's 33-yard interception return. The Patriots would battle back, however, with touchdown runs runs from Jamichael Johns and Jordan Holmes, but Reese Beasley's field goal and another Hughley touchdown would seal the 31-20 victory for the Bulldogs as they improved to 5-1 on the season. Class 5A Citronelle traveled to South Mobile County, taking on Class 7A Alma Bryant last week, and the Wildcats of Coach Jason Rowell pulled out a 29-6 victory, thanks in big part to quarterback Dalen Edmonds. He threw for a touchdown and ran for another. And CC Noyd added a pick six for Citronelle. Edmonds was 8 of 19 passing for 180 yards and had 14 rush attempts for 103 yards rushing. Zach Morgan caught a 37-yard pass. Keyshawn Williams added a 37 yards rushing touchdown. With the win, Citronelle improved to 4-2, and the Hurricanes, coached by Bart Sessions, fell to 1-4. We closed this week's highlights featuring Elba High School senior running back Alvin Henderson, who led the nation's high schools in rushing touchdowns, 61 last season, with 3,523 yards on 225 carries for 15.7 yards per carry. And he's on pace to possibly beat those numbers this season and is also on pace to become the AHSAA's leading rusher in state history. In the Tigers' 48-34 victory over Goshen High School, Henderson, who leads the nation this season with 1,958 yards and 33 touchdowns on 152 carries for 12.9 yards per carry, through 6 games, rushed for 352 yards on 26 carries and scored 4 touchdowns, his lowest TD output of the season versus Goshen. Let's check out his last touchdown, which was an amazing 32-yard run to clinch the victory with 1 minute and 20 seconds left to play. Elba improves to 4-2 on the season with its 3rd straight victory. They'll be at home the next 2 weeks with Georgiana and Florala trying to clinch the 1A Region 2 title. Thanks everyone for watching. Check out this week's AHSAA WOTM Game of the Week on Thursday night. This week we've got Beulah at BB Comer. Next week we'll feature Chelsea at Spain Park. We've got Hillcrest Tuscaloosa at Prattville on October 17th, Homewood at Minor on October 24th, and we'll finish off the season with St. Michael at UMS Wright on Halloween, October 31st. We're also excited to feature school broadcast games every Friday night. This week we'll have Auburn at Central Phoenix City. Next week we'll have Enterprise at Opelika. We'll take you to a huge rivalry game in Hoover at Thompson on October 18th, and on October 25th we'll have Orange Beach at St. Michael. You won't want to miss any of the excitement as WOTM and AHSAA take you to high school football action all over the state through these special broadcasts. That'll do it for this week's edition of AHSAA TV Weekly. We thank you for joining us, and we'll see you right back here next week.